Conceptual art is where emphasis is placed on idea over process or production. So the idea is the machine that produces the artwork. For Sol LeWitt, this manifested in the wall drawings.
It's like it's moving because of the, I don't know if it's the colours or if it's just the way it's got the curvy lines and the straight lines. It's really vibrant.
When you want to show a Sol LeWitt wall drawing, effectively all that exists beforehand are the instructions that sit alongside the work. So in our case, this is a diagram of the original installation of the work. So this is the drawing that was sent from New York, and this is set by a man called Anthony Sansotto, who's worked for the estate for about 30 years. And he gets exact dimensions of our space, and then from that plans how the drawing should extend or move or follow around corners and things. It also gives us the colour orientation of each of the bands. The fact that the Gallery of Modern Art is an old building means that certain aspects of the room are not perfect. So the drawings are always bespoke. The plan that we were sent from the estate has to be adapted, and at this point you start to notice that the room might move slightly, or there's a curve in the line of the skirting board. And it's these features that the wall drawing really pulls out as well. It pulls out the architecture of the space. It's taken about a month for the whole process in all. We started off a month before that preparing the room, so there was initially plastering. We pasted the wall with wallpaper paste twice. There was then 5 layers of gesso applied, and that's when the team began to draw the work onto the wall.
So each band is fixed at 15 centimetres, so we're working, we were dividing the length of the wall by 15 and coming up with sort of, 14.95 centimetres. So we're working within these sort of half and quarter mil boundaries to try and get it as even as possible. Because once you start to get a discrepancy, it then will amplify further on in the drawing. So it's really important to be accurate in every stage of the whole process.
So at the moment, most of this wall is masked out. None of the masking tape or the brown paper is allowed to touch the wall that's been painted underneath at all. So each of it is masked to each other, and then to the skirting rail and to the batten at the top. And these kind of bit larger sections are to avoid any splashback from the colour at all. So this has been done throughout the whole process.
Generally, there's 2 types of colour. It's kind of difficult to see in this stage because they're all brought to an equal level. The blue, purple and grey are all opaque colours, so they've only needed 4 coats, and then the red, yellow, orange and green are transparent or have a transparency to them. So every time you add a coat of those, you will in fact darken the colour on the wall. So that's why it's important. You can't just keep adding colour if you make mistakes. The first application onto the white settles the brushstrokes. You have to be really even with that because those brushstrokes will become apparent later on, even after 4 to 5 coats.
In the end, I think what you don't want to see in the work is their hand almost. You don't want to see brushstrokes. It's applied in such a way that you can't really tell that there has ever been this much activity or these many people working on it at any given point. Really, Sol LeWitt was at the forefront of conceptual art. Essentially, his paragraphs on conceptual art in 1967 was a massive catalyst. It distilled many of the ideas that were floating around at the time. Other artists, including Donald Judd and Dan Flavin, had been for a long time experimenting with materials and the reduction of form to its most simple elements. And in many ways, it was a reaction to consumerism, and in a different way to pop art. The way that the conceptual artists were looking at the objects or the materials was just completely different. It was about reduction in form rather than overproduction.
Well, at first it was just
It's such a big impact to just walk into the room. You definitely need that white wall to kind of take a break from it. I quite like the original concept of it. It's so free, but when you really get into how it's actually made, you see the restrictions and the boundaries, and it's almost like an instruction manual.
I never thought it would be made like that actually, because I assumed when we came in that it would be essentially strange but like stuck on, because I couldn't imagine anybody like painting it so neatly.
Being told that it's been painted on is quite a shock to think that it's like done with so much precision and taken so long to do, when it seems quite a simple design, but to actually like do it would be a whole nother task on a whole nother level kind of thing.
I quite like the contrast of the white wall against the three coloured walls. The colours are very bright. There is a grey streak in it, which kind of confused me, almost as if the artist is trying to balance out the brighter colours.
I think the grey is really good for the eye, because it's a place for it to rest. Brings a subtlety to it.
All of his work has a lot of emotion in it though. The impact that you have when you see his work it's always quite a shock to people, I think. The preparation that you need to take on the wall, and the fact that they almost look as if they're made by a machine, but you know that they're made by hand. And really the concept of how you carry out one of the works, that you have this set of instructions that you are to follow, means that almost anyone can take part in producing one. It's quite a democratic way of making art, and it's a democratic process.